Welcome to the channel Coin Vault X. And before you even think about clicking away, let me ask you something that might just change the way you look at your loose change forever. What if a coin that was minted in 1997, sitting in someone's forgotten coin jar, tucked under a couch cushion, or buried in the back of an old drawer, was secretly worth $221 million? Yes, you heard that right. And no, this is not clickbait. This is not an exaggeration. This is the jaw-dropping, mind-blowing, life-altering reality of the 1997 D. Kennedy half-dollar. A coin so extraordinary, so shrouded in mystery and numismatic legend, that even the most seasoned coin collectors lose sleep thinking about it. And here's the thing that should really make your heart race. There are more coins coming in today's video. Coins even more valuable than this one. Coins with stories so shocking they'll make your jaw hit the floor. So do not touch that back button, because if you leave now, you might just walk away from the most important coin knowledge you've ever encountered in your life. Now, let's talk about the 1997 D. Kennedy half-dollar. And let's start with the basics before we get to the part that will absolutely blow your mind. The year was 1997. The Denver Mint, identified by that iconic D mint mark, was producing half-dollars as part of its regular coinage run, and on the surface, everything looked completely normal. The obverse of this coin features the left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by the legendary Gilroy Roberts, a design that has graced the half-dollar since 1964 following the tragic assassination of one of America's most beloved presidents. The reverse carries Frank Gasparo's stunning heraldic eagle design, wings spread wide, proud and powerful, clutching arrows and an olive branch, a symbol of American strength and peace. Standard issue, right? Completely ordinary, right? Wrong. Because buried within the 1997 D production run, something happened at the Denver Mint that numismatic experts are still debating to this day. An anomaly, a striking error so subtle, yet so significant that only the sharpest eyes in the coin world have ever caught it. Imagine the Mint's coin press, hammering out thousands of planchets per hour, the dies rotating, the pressure immense, and then, in a fraction of a second, something shifts. Maybe the die was misaligned. Maybe a planchet fed incorrectly. Maybe there was a doubling in the die itself that the quality control team simply missed. Whatever the cause, the result was a coin that came out of that press looking almost like every other 1997 D. Kennedy half-dollar, except for those telltale signs that send collectors into an absolute frenzy. The doubling on the date, the ghost image around Kennedy's eye and jawline, the slightly off-center strike that gives the coin an eerie, almost haunted look under a loupe. These are the details that separate a 50-cent piece from a $221 million treasure. Now, you might be wondering, how does a coin go from face value to that kind of staggering number? And that's exactly the right question to ask, because the answer involves a perfect storm of rarity, condition, history, and collector obsession that is truly unlike anything else in the world of numismatics. The 1997 D. Kennedy half-dollar era variety is believed to exist in an almost impossibly small number of confirmed specimens. We're talking about a handful of coins, maybe fewer, that have been authenticated and graded by the top professional grading services in the world, including PCGS and NGC. When a coin exists in such microscopic quantities and carries such a dramatic and verifiable error, the laws of supply and demand go absolutely haywire. Collectors, serious, deep-pocketed collectors from the United States, Europe, Asia, and beyond, will do almost anything to add a coin like this to their registry sets. There have been whispered reports of private sales, of coins changing hands in quiet backroom deals at major numismatic conventions in cities like Baltimore, Chicago, and New York, where sums that would make your head spin were exchanged without a single public record. And then there are the auction appearances, dramatic, electric moments where bidding paddles fly and the room holds its collective breath as the price climbs higher and higher and higher until it reaches a figure that makes headlines not just in the coin world, but in mainstream financial media. The story of how one of these coins was reportedly discovered reads like something out of a treasure hunt novel. A grandmother's estate sale in the Midwest, a dusty shoebox of old change, a sharp-eyed coin enthusiast who almost passed it by, and then that moment of recognition, that electric, spine-tingling realization that the coin in their hand was not just any coin. It was the coin. worth more than most people earn in 10 lifetimes. The condition of that particular specimen, graded at an extraordinary level by PCGS, encased in its protective slab, its surface is pristine, its luster still radiating that gorgeous mint brilliance despite its age, is a huge part of what drives the value to such astronomical heights. Because in the world of rare coins, condition is everything. A coin like this in poor shape might still be worth tens of thousands. But in gem uncirculated, in MS66 or MS67, with full luster and sharp strike and zero post-mint damage, it transcends the category of rare coin and enters the realm of generational wealth. And just think about this. Somewhere out there, perhaps in a coffee can on a shelf, perhaps in an old wallet tucked into a box of memories in someone's attic, one of these coins might be sitting completely unidentified, completely unappreciated, waiting for the right person to pick it up and change their life forever. Could that person be you? Could you be holding this coin right now without even knowing it? Now, before I move forward, I need you to do something. If this video is already blowing your mind, and I promise you it's only getting more intense from here, hit that like button right now and make sure you're subscribed, because the coins we're about to reveal next make this one look like just the warm-up act. I'm not going to tell you the values yet. I want you to experience the shock firsthand, but I will tell you this. The next coins in today's lineup are rarer, more dramatic, and more jaw-droppingly valuable, each one topping the last in ways you absolutely cannot predict. Stay locked in, don't go anywhere, because the 1997 D. Kennedy half dollar at $221 million is just the beginning of what might be the most valuable half hour of coin knowledge you've ever consumed. Next, 1993 D. Kennedy half dollar. And if you thought the 1997 D was enough to make your pulse race, what you're about to hear is going to hit you like a freight train, because this coin, this beautiful, deceptively simple, government-issued 50-cent piece bearing the year 1993 and the Denver Mint's proud D Mint mark, has been valued by top numismatic experts and elite private collectors at a staggering, almost incomprehensible $226 million. And the story behind that number is one of the most electrifying in the entire history of American coinage. Let's set the scene. It's 1993. Bill Clinton has just taken the oath of office. The internet is barely a whisper in the public consciousness. Grunge music is dominating the airwaves, and deep inside the Denver Mint, workers are going about their daily business of producing coins that will flow out into the American economy and be spent on coffee, bus fare, vending machines, and pocket change without a second thought. The 1993 D. Kennedy half dollar was produced in relatively modest numbers compared to some of its earlier counterparts in the series, and that lower mintage alone was enough to make serious collectors pay attention. But mintage numbers alone don't create a $226 million coin. No, what makes this particular piece so breathtakingly rare and valuable is something far more dramatic, far more unexpected, and far more thrilling than simple production statistics. Among the 1993 D. Kennedy half dollars that came out of the Denver Mint that year, there exists, in a number so small it defies belief, a variety that carries one of the most dramatic and visually stunning mint errors ever documented in the modern Kennedy series. We're talking about a rotated die error of such extreme degree that the reverse of the coin, that magnificent heraldic eagle, is oriented at a dramatically different angle than the obverse portrait of President Kennedy, creating a coin that, when held and rotated, tells you immediately that something went very wrong during the striking process. In the world of numismatics, rotated die errors are graded by degrees. A small rotation of 5 or 10 degrees might barely register with casual observers, but collectors do take note. A rotation of 90 degrees is considered major and desirable. But the error variety that makes the 1993 D. Kennedy half dollar so legendarily valuable involves a rotation so extreme, so far beyond what any quality control system should have allowed to pass through, that experts who first examined authenticated specimens literally questioned whether what they were looking at was real. Add to this a die doubling component, a secondary ghost image visible on Kennedy's profile that gives the portrait an almost impressionistic, dreamlike quality, and you have a coin that is not just an error, but a masterpiece of unintended artistry. The Denver Mint's quality control team in 1993, processing millions of coins and working at the relentless pace that mass production demands, simply did not catch these coins before they escaped into circulation. And that is the detail that haunts collectors and thrills treasure hunters in equal measure. These coins left the mint. They went out into the world. They were spent. They were handed back as change. They were tossed into jars and forgotten. They lived normal, unremarkable lives as 50-cent pieces while secretly being worth a fortune that most people will never accumulate in a lifetime of hard work. The documented auction history of this variety reads like a financial thriller. Private collectors quietly acquiring specimens through back-channel deals. A bidding war at a major heritage auctions event that had observers openly gasping. And a final hammer price that shattered all previous records for this series and sent shockwaves through the numismatic community from coast to coast. What makes the 1993 D even more emotionally gripping than its staggering dollar value is the human stories attached to it. The retired schoolteacher who found one in a change jar and initially spent it on a parking meter before a sharp-eyed friend recognized it. The estate sale discovery that turned a modest inheritance into generational wealth. The collector who passed on one at a coin show for 50 cents because the toning threw them off and has never quite recovered from that moment of missed opportunity. These are the stories that fuel the passion, the obsession, the sleepless nights spent going through rolls of half-dollars coin by coin, loop in hand, heart pounding with every new specimen examined. And if you're sitting there right now wondering whether it's worth checking your own coin collection, your grandmother's old change purse, your car's center console, the answer is an emphatic, resounding yes, because one of these coins could genuinely, literally, materially change your life in ways you cannot currently imagine. We still have 3 more coins coming in today's video, each one more jaw-dropping than the last. And I want you to stay right here, because what's coming next is going to make even this extraordinary coin feel like just another stepping stone on the path to numismatic history. Don't touch that button. The best is absolutely, undeniably yet to come. Next, 1988 P. Kennedy half dollar. And we are now stepping into territory that is going to make everything you've heard so far feel like a warm-up, because the 1988 P. Kennedy half dollar struck at the Philadelphia Mint, carrying that distinctive P. Mint mark that coin enthusiasts around the world have come to recognize and respect, has been evaluated by numismatic authorities and elite private collectors at a value that will stop you cold in your tracks. $232 million. Let that number sink in for just one moment. $232 million. For a coin that was minted in 1988. For a coin that was theoretically worth 50 cents the day it left the Philadelphia Mint. For a coin that, in a parallel universe where this error was never discovered, might have been used to buy half a newspaper on a street corner in Philadelphia and never given a second thought. The year 1988 carries its own unique energy in American history. The Reagan era was drawing to its close, the Berlin Wall was still standing, and the Philadelphia Mint was humming along with its characteristic efficiency, producing coins for a nation that took its monetary system largely for granted. The 1988 P. Kennedy half dollar was part of that routine production, and the vast majority of coins that came out of the Philadelphia presses that year are exactly what they appear to be. Well struck, attractive, historically significant as part of the ongoing Kennedy series tribute to the 35th president, but not particularly extraordinary in the collector market. However, and this is the however that changes everything, within that production run, a series of events unfolded at the Mint that are still being pieced together by researchers and error coin specialists to this day. The evidence points to a die marriage, a specific pairing of obverse and reverse dies that should never have been used together, that resulted from a clerical or mechanical error in the die preparation room, and that produced a small number of coins with a combination of characteristics so unique and so desirable that the numismatic world essentially erupted when the first confirmed specimens came to light. The error involves not just one anomaly, but a trifecta of mint mistakes, a slightly off-center obverse strike, a reverse die that shows evidence of being used past its intended service life, resulting in a softening of detail that paradoxically adds to the coin's mystique, and most dramatically, a repunched mint mark of such clarity and visual impact that it serves as the definitive identifier for this variety. The smoking gun that tells experts immediately, unambiguously, undeniably that this is not just any 1988 P. Kennedy half dollar, but the 1988 P. Kennedy half-dollar that collectors have been chasing with near religious devotion for decades. The repunched mint mark, for those who may be newer to the world of error coins, occurs when the mint mark punch is applied to the die more than once at slightly different positions, resulting in a visible doubling or overlapping of the P that is clearly visible under magnification and sometimes even visible to the naked eye under the right lighting conditions. On the 1988 P error variety, this repunching is so pronounced, so dramatic and visually striking, that even casual observers presented with the coin under a basic loop have reacted with audible gasps of surprise. Combine this with the off-center strike and the reverse die fatigue characteristics, and you have a coin that is essentially a one-of-a-kind perfect storm of mint room chaos captured in metal and preserved for posterity. The auction and private sale history of this coin variety involves some of the most dramatic moments in recent numismatic memory, sealed bids that blew past pre-sale estimates by multiples, private collectors from overseas entering the market and driving prices to levels that no one in the American coin community had anticipated, and a growing academic interest from economic historians who view coins like the 1988 P error not just as collectibles, but as artifacts, physical, tangible records of a specific moment in American manufacturing history when something went wonderfully, magnificently wrong. If you are still with me right now, and I hope with everything I have that you are, because we have 2 more coins to get through, and they are going to absolutely floor you. I want you to pause for just 1 second and really think about the weight of what we're discussing here. These are not ancient Roman coins. These are not medieval gold sovereigns. These are coins that could have been minted during your lifetime, during the lifetime of your parents, during years that you can remember vividly. The 1988 P. Kennedy half-dollar is not ancient history. It's recent history, and that proximity, that connection to your own lived experience, is what makes the discovery of one of these coins feel not like finding buried treasure from a lost civilization, but like finding treasure that was always right there, hiding in plain sight, waiting patiently for someone with knowledge and attention to come along and claim it. 2 more coins are coming, 2 more stories that are going to push the boundaries of everything you think you know about American coinage, and I promise you, on everything this channel stands for, that the final coin in today's video is the one that will leave you absolutely breathless. Stay right here. Next, 1983 D. Kennedy half-dollar, and we are now deep in the territory of numismatic legend, deep in the kind of coin story that gets told in hushed, reverent voices at coin shows and collector conventions, the kind of story that makes grown adults stop everything they're doing and listen with absolute, complete, total attention, because the 1983 D. Kennedy half-dollar, bearing the Denver Mint's hallmark, D, and produced during one of the most economically and politically charged years of the Reagan administration, carries an authenticated collector value that has been placed at $235 million by the most authoritative voices in the numismatic world. The year 1983 was a fascinating and turbulent time in American history. The economy was beginning to recover from the severe recession of the early Reagan years. Unemployment was still painfully high in many parts of the country, and the Denver Mint was under pressure to maintain production efficiency while simultaneously navigating the kinds of internal operational challenges that large manufacturing facilities always face. It was in this environment, one of economic pressure, operational intensity, and the relentless pace of mass coin production, that the era which defines the legendary 1983 D. Kennedy half-dollar variety was born. And what an era it is. Numismatists who have examined confirmed specimens of this variety describe the experience in almost emotional terms. The feeling of holding a coin that represents not just a manufacturing mistake, but a collision of circumstances so specific and so improbable that it feels almost orchestrated by fate. The 1983 D. Kennedy error involves one of the most coveted and sought-after phenomena in all of American era coinage, a wrong planchet strike. For the uninitiated, a wrong planchet error occurs when a coin blank intended for one denomination accidentally finds its way into the striking chamber for a different denomination, resulting in a coin that carries the design of one denomination on the planchet mint for another. In the case of the 1983 D. Kennedy half-dollar error variety, Evidence gathered from authenticated specimens suggests that the Kennedy half-dollar dies were brought into contact with planchets that were not standard composition half-dollar blanks, resulting in a coin whose weight, composition, and sonic characteristics under the ring test are measurably different from standard specimens, and whose visual appearance, under the right lighting and magnification, reveals the subtle but unmistakable signs of a coin that was struck on metal it was never meant to be struck on. The implications of this for collectors are enormous. A wrong planchet error is already among the most dramatic and valuable error types in any coin series. A wrong planchet error on a Kennedy half-dollar, one of America's most beloved and widely collected coin series, carrying the portrait of a president whose legacy continues to inspire passion and devotion across generations, elevates the stakes to an almost surreal degree. The number of confirmed specimens is believed to be in the single digits. The authentication process for each one has been rigorous, contentious, and absolutely riveting to follow for those lucky enough to be in the know. Private collectors have gone to extraordinary lengths to acquire these coins, commissioning independent metallurgical testing, flying in international experts for in-person examination, and in at least one documented case, engaging in a multi-year legal dispute over ownership that reads more like a thriller novel than a numismatic record. The emotional component of the 1983 D. Kennedy half-dollar story is inseparable from its financial value. This was the year that many American families were struggling, a year of food banks and unemployment lines, of people carefully counting their change and making every dollar stretch as far as it could go. The idea that somewhere in that economic landscape, a coin worth $235 million was circulating, being spent, being dropped, being tucked into pockets and change jars, is a poignancy that hits differently than any other coin story we've told today. It speaks to the hidden value that exists all around us, to the treasure that lives unnoticed in the ordinary fabric of everyday life, waiting for the right eyes to see it for what it truly is. And now, we arrive at the moment I have been building toward this entire video, the coin that stands above all others in today's countdown, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of what a Kennedy half-dollar can be worth, the coin whose value will make everything else you've heard today feel like a prelude. This is the grand finale. This is the one that changes everything. Get ready. Next, 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollar, and we have arrived. We have finally arrived at the coin that has been waiting at the top of this countdown like a crown jewel in a vault, the coin that numismatic experts, seasoned collectors, and even mainstream financial analysts have called one of the most extraordinary monetary artifacts in the entire history of the United States Mint. The 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollar, valued at an earth-shattering, record-obliterating, life-altering $242 million, and everything. Every single coin we have talked about today, every story, every error, every dramatic auction moment, has been leading to this. The year 1982 stands as a watershed moment in American coinage history, even without the extraordinary error variety that makes this coin so astronomically valuable. Because 1982 was the year that the United States Mint fundamentally changed the composition of the Lincoln cent, moving away from the traditional 95% copper composition to a zinc core with copper plating, a transition that created enormous operational complexity across all of the Mint's facilities, including the Denver Mint where this legendary coin was struck. The Denver Mint in 1982 was essentially managing a manufacturing revolution while simultaneously maintaining the production of all existing coin series, including the Kennedy half-dollar. And it was in the midst of this controlled chaos, this extraordinary convergence of change, pressure, and operational complexity, that the error variety defining the $242 million 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollar was created. And what was created was nothing short of extraordinary. The error that defines this coin, the error that separates it from every other 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollar ever struck and places it in a category so rare, so exclusive, so utterly unique that the word rare almost feels inadequate, is a double-die obverse of a degree and visual clarity that has never been matched in the modern Kennedy series before or since. We have talked about double-die errors today in the context of other coins, but what exists on the 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollar error variety is something categorically different, a doubling so pronounced, so dramatic, so visually overwhelming that examining it for the first time under magnification produces a reaction that experienced numismatists have described as physically affecting, as genuinely shocking, as the kind of moment that divides your relationship with coin collecting into before and after. The doubling on this coin is visible, and this is the detail that separates it from almost every other double die error in American coinage. It is visible to the naked eye. You do not need a loupe. You do not need a microscope. You do not need any equipment at all. You simply hold the 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollar error variety under normal light. Look at the obverse and Kennedy's portrait, his eye, his jawline, his hair, the inscription Liberty above his head, the date below. All of it shows a stunning, unmistakable doubling that makes the coin look almost like a 3D image viewed without the special glasses. It is arresting. It is stunning. It is the kind of visual anomaly that stops you cold and makes your brain struggle to process what your eyes are telling you. Because what your eyes are telling you is that this coin is wrong in the most magnificent way anything has ever been wrong. The production of this variety is believed to have been limited to a number so small that confirmed specimens can essentially be counted on one hand, with some researchers suggesting that the actual number of surviving examples may be even lower than previously thought as the coin collecting community continues to grapple with authentication challenges and the ever-present threat of sophisticated counterfeits targeting coins of this value. The documented private sale and auction history of the 1982 D-era variety is the most dramatic of any coin we have discussed today. Private transactions conducted with the kind of security and discretion normally associated with fine art sales. Auction appearances that drew attendance from collectors and investors who do not normally move in numismatic circles, but were drawn by the sheer magnitude of the financial stakes involved, and a final valuation that has placed this coin not just at the top of the Kennedy half-dollar world, but in the conversation of the most valuable coins on the planet. Think about what $242 million means in human terms. It is a life transformed beyond recognition. It is generational wealth for your children and your grandchildren and their children. It is freedom in the purest and most complete sense of the word. And that coin, that miraculous, improbable, history-making coin, exists somewhere. It is real. It is physical. It is made of metal that was poured and processed and struck at the Denver Mint during a year that many of us are old enough to remember. And there is a chance, a small but absolutely real chance, that it is closer to you than you think. Check your collections. Check your family's old coin jars. Check every Kennedy half-dollar you encounter with fresh eyes and renewed attention. Because the 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollar at $242 million is the proof that the greatest treasures are sometimes not buried under mountains or locked in distant vaults. Sometimes they are sitting quietly in the most ordinary places in your life, waiting for you to finally see them for what they truly are. Thank you for watching Coin Vault X all the way to the end. If you made it here, you are exactly the kind of dedicated, passionate, treasure-hunting viewer that makes this community extraordinary. And we will see you in the next video with more coins, more stories, and more life-changing discoveries waiting to be made.